Okay, good morning, everybody. Well, at least it's morning for us over here at Sales and Orders. Well, not really Sales and Orders, but you know what I mean, right? And it is episode 3 of Ask an E-commerce Specialist. Today, I am extremely excited because I get to host a longtime friend of mine and a previous colleague from another agency that we worked at. Actually, we all worked with Julie. And this is Keith Hochler. He is one of our enterprise account managers here at Sales and Orders. Probably one of the things I did want to say, though, Keith, and it's just a little something like that. Everybody out there know the first time I ever really got to say Keith's name, I said it wrong. We were in a big conference meeting, and I proceeded to refer to him as Keith Hochler.
Yep.
And I got totally reamed out for that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I did. I didn't hold anything against you, but I think somebody else called you out. But
yeah, I remember who it was. I think it was one of the managers, one of the team leaders, I think.
Yes.
Or laughed at, probably Nick or somebody laughed at me, like that's not how you pronounce his name, bud. But yeah, so Keith, you work with a lot of our some of our enterprise clients, some of our larger businesses, but also a lot of our local businesses. Which actually a lot of people might not know is there's a ton of e-commerce merchants right here on Long Island.
Right.
And a lot of times, what I notice is that I'll be working and I'll be noticing some of the users who are reaching out to us for support, and it says Huntington, East Meadow, wherever they might be over here. So, Keith, obviously everything that's going on in coronavirus, how are you doing? Is what I really want to know.
I'm doing all right over here.
You have a new baby-ish, right?
Yeah, it's got a 5-month-old baby girl. If she screams in the next 20 minutes, that's her.
It's fine. This is normal. This is the new normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so Keith, tell me, how's everything going? How's everything going with your customers? Or do you notice one of the things I've been asking everybody is any kind of interesting trends that you're noticing with everything that's going on?
For sure. So I think it does vary by account and industry, but to touch on some industries that I think are picking up across the board, anything like indoor, like for example, fitness, I think, is really big. There's a few accounts of mine that are doing a lot better, year over year, month over month. I think people, across the world, they see this as an opportunity to start working out. Okay. So, similar to like New Year's when everyone's like, oh, I'm going to work out.
Right.
Now, this
like coronavirus resolutions,
So,
I think it's kind of happens either I'm going to get really fit or I'm going to get really fat.
It's funny you say that, Tony, because on the opposite side, cooking, baking and ingredients, some accounts that sell like specialty chocolate, people see this as an opportunity to purchase items like that also. Boutique items like feel better. I'm going to send this person a high-end chocolate box, just things like that. And
wow,
with what you were saying, like
interesting
ingredients and things like that to cook, for sure.
Really cool.
Yeah. And just one more, I think I noticed like pet supplies. So a lot of people may want to avoid even go to like a veterinarian or a doctor for their pet. So I think a lot of people are trying to cure it themselves. So they're buying, certain sprays and whatever it may be.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. I can attest to that. I have a dog, I have a fish. Need to go get him some more bloodworms. I'm like, am I really going to order that one little thing of bloodworm from the internet? I'm going to put a mask on, put my gloves on, put my hazmat suit on.
Exactly.
Get my hamster bubble and roll myself to Petco and there's a plug there for you. But and get some fish food, right? No, but I totally get it. It makes a lot of sense. People are stuck at home. They're shopping a lot more, but they're shopping a lot more for things that are um, almost these things, they're saying they're non-essential, really. I mean, obviously, I doing like pets. Why are pets? Because they're essential. There are fuzzy humans, right? But or scaly humans, whatever you want to say. But that all makes a lot of sense to me, and I've been seeing it a lot of because we've started to notice in the past like week or so, everything when coronavirus hit, there was that shock, and then everything kind of dipped a little bit, and people stopped spending as much, and people stopped, advertising as much, and that makes. I mean, even Amazon, pulled a lot of their ads off of Google,
Right.
for example. But now that's starting to tick back up, and obviously there are these certain industries that are really bringing that impact around.
Mhm.
Has there been anything that I feel like that you've done differently as a result of this, at least helping your customers, or
Sure.
it, whether it's a channel that you feel like has been working really
Right.
well for people, or some unique strategies that you've been implementing specifically for
Mhm.
everything that's going on?
So strategies like going along with recommendations of things to look at is mobile traffic. So there's a whole lot to say there. Um, I think, naturally there's a lot more traffic going there, but this can be a good thing or a bad thing, where as in before, coronavirus, you maybe were spending 80% on computers, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
But now it's kind of shifting. So there's two things here. One, I would recommend, and what I've done also is looking at that month over month change. And I mean, if it's a positive thing, which is happening too. So mobile traffic can be performing better, which I've noticed as well. Um, so two things. One, if it's doing better, maybe add more budget towards it. And two, if it's not, obviously you want to put a modifier or something like that, maybe, negative 25%. But
sure.
I think a few accounts of mine, they're actually having stronger conversion rates with mobile. And it kind of makes sense because, we're all stuck inside where, exactly 3 months ago, maybe someone wouldn't have converted, because they had a few minutes. But now
Right.
people are sitting on the couch. They have
All the
two
time in the
hours to go
world.
through, exactly, 2 hours to go through the checkout process without even opening their computer. So that's one huge thing to look at is mobile, how much you're spending versus previously. And if it's doing well, then that's excellent.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that I definitely foresee all of this, although it's going to have an incredibly lasting effect on the e-commerce industry as a whole. One other thing I think is going to completely change mobile behavior with shoppers. I think people are almost going to be. I don't know how to explain it, but I guess it's almost like in a way, they're going to wind up using their phones more, but in not necessarily in the ways that people would assume they would. People are going to shop a lot more on their phones, but they will, as you've been seeing, like, they're going to start converting more on mobile. Like, typically mobile was more for window shopping, or like they would start on their mobile, then they would get home and like move to a laptop. And now we're talking about cross device and attribution metrics that we need to start focusing on. And what is that experience from there to there? But obviously, I mean, what this is definitely indicating is that e-commerce businesses are going to have to really up their game. And this has been going on for years, as you know, like mobile, 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 mobile. It's
Right.
mobile first world, mobile. And historically, though, like, we still lower our spend on mobile because of that whole that window shopping experience. But
Exactly.
now I think people are going to wind up like almost retrained to begin using their mobile devices more for actually shopping.
Mhm.
So it's going to be interesting to see what that entail, what that kind of that trend starts to look like a little bit further down the line.
For sure. And it's funny you say that, Tony, because, a bunch of accounts that the other specialists get, the customer specialists, we tend to start off with a negative modifier on mobile to hold traffic back. So, I mean, after this, we may want to, dig deeper. Yeah, maybe do negative 25 at the start. Maybe just set it at 0 and see how it performs after 30, 60 days.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. I mean, we'll probably have to, whenever this ends, whenever it ends, hopefully it's sooner than later, right?
Yeah, for
It's going to
sure.
be, I think, months of recovery afterwards that we're actually going to have to continue to do that. And I think inherently people are still going to be afraid to leave their homes and afraid to be in crowds. So
Mhm.
again, I think they're going to wind up being retrained to do more on their mobile phones, or at least, or their tablets or anything along those lines. Even looking at tablets, because, typically we do lower our bids on tablets too, um, which is odd. You know what I mean? That you would think that because of the how widespread tablet use is, you would think more people are doing more direct shopping on their tablets, but they're not. They're actually doing very much what they're doing on mobile devices. They're window shopping, and then for some reason, there's just this. It's a sense of security, or just a sense of maybe it's a form of nostalgia because people just inherently are used to sitting here on a laptop or sitting in here on a desktop, and that's where they shift and actually go to make their purchasing decisions.
Right.
Um, so you happen to work with a lot of our local business owners here over at Sales and Orders, and I know of one, and we've been working with Brand Cycle for a
Yep.
very, very long time, many years. Dan Sirota over there. A big shout out to Dan. And I know that they're doing incredibly well. And that kind of fits into that whole theme of outdoor indoor type of products, because they mostly sell like cycling equipment and things along those lines,
Exactly.
but they also sell indoor training equipment, right?
Exactly. So, one thing, that we did was, do a filter in the software, category filter, anything mentioning indoor, specifically maybe if it's, someone else out there who has similar products, do product title contains maybe indoor trainer, and just, bid up, see how it does it after a week. And a lot of these products just ran for themselves without, that initial push. So they naturally were becoming the most clicked products, and they were performing well. So I would say if you're, another business out there who has similar products, and you're not seeing that as a top click product, maybe bid up a little bit, see how it runs after a few days, a week. But I think it's time to, capitalize on things like that. Anything fitness equipment, anything, indoors.
Now, you mentioned something very, very important. I think that merchants really need to key in on here is bid adjustments, and how often you make bid adjustments, because I think a lot of times, and I've spoken to many retailers before, who will either be using our app, or even they're just using Google Ads on their own, or Microsoft Ads on their own, and they're making bid changes yesterday, right? And then all of a sudden they want to make bid changes again today. Like,
Yeah.
that's a bad practice. You shouldn't be doing that.
Absolutely. You need, especially if you're doing a bulk change, like similar to what we said with one category, make your change, mark it down, follow up in 7 days, look at the data, and then make further changes. If you're making a change and then doing it 24 hours later, it's really, counterproductive. You need time to run. You need Google to place them in the new spot. So yeah, give it time.
Yeah, because the auctions are interesting with search engines. It's not like Facebook and Instagram where it's all audience based and it's a lot of machine learning there. And yes, obviously Bing and Microsoft and Google, they have plenty of machine learning as well, but it's intent based. It's based on what the shopper is looking for at the time, what they search terms, and obviously controlling that with things like negative keywords
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that you're not you're not showing up for irrelevant terms, or terms that are like
Yes.
explosive right now. Because I've noticed that
So
what Julie mentioned. I'm sorry, go ahead. But
no, I was going to say, with search terms, with what you just said, that's a whole other, recommendation to go over. So I usually do, every 3-5 days, I take a look at search terms, right? Maybe 7-14. But with what's been going on, I've had a few accounts where, search terms that were never their top impression terms are now, up there, and they're
yeah,
getting a lot of irrelevant searches too.
yeah,
So be on the lookout. I'll just give one example. I have an account that sells, whiskey, tequila, beer, right? Out of
Hot,
nowhere.
hot commodity nowadays.
Yes, nice. Absolutely. So one top search term that happened out of nowhere was how to make alcohol-based hand sanitizer, and it was also just exact match alcohol. But a lot of the top terms were
alcohol near me.
Yes.
Alcohol for delivery. Where's my booze?
Yes, and even I think I don't know what the percentage is, but the alcohol that's used to make the hand sanitizer, that was getting
above 60 proof.
Yes, so 60% proof alcohol was getting a lot of, I'll be honest, ad spend clicks.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is, not every day, but every few days, take a look at the top search terms, make sure it's relevant, and if not, I did see, episode 1 with, Julie mentioning the search terms, but yes, to reiterate that, add that as, another suggestion.
Of course. I mean, you got to emphasize it because, and it's unique because the way that we can leverage our app, especially, gives us a little bit more raw insight, and we can adapt search term strategies into how we help our customers a little bit more readily and not easily. And we actually draw all our search terms directly from Google Analytics. So we take a lot of data, and we can also take that information, we can translate it over to other channels like Microsoft. But it gives us a little bit of an inherent view into what is really going on. Now, that is different based on whatever situation a retailer is in. If merchants are actively managing their campaigns in Google or Microsoft ads, for example, getting down to the search term structure can be really hard because of depending on the structure of a campaign, right? So, we obviously do like pure ID level shopping campaigns. So all our shopping campaigns are broken down to the item level. But if you're doing this in Google Ads directly, you may want to look into compartmentalizing your product groups. If you even if you want to still achieve granularity. So obviously you can still subdivide and get to those ID levels, as you know, Keith. But if you pre-group those products, let's say by brand, right? And you have a brand is X, Y, and Z, and each of those is one breakdown, but then within that breakdown, there's an item level structure. That's really the only way that I know of, unless you're going to go with like a single item ad group, single product, where they call SPAG, or single product ad group, which not a recommended strategy. I don't necessarily recommend it. It has very little real use case, but it only really can be used in very finite situations. But if you're going to be doing that, obviously I would suggest that you compartmentalize your products a little bit first. You group them by brand, for example, or product type, or category, for example, and then you break down your then you break it again by ID level, being sure to exclude the everything else that's broken down at the very end. That's in especially in Google Ads and Microsoft. But when you do that, you wind up being able to actually see the proper search terms at an ad group level or a product group level just for those particular products. You know what I mean? And if you do that outside of that kind of structure, it'll be really hard to determine what type of search terms you really want to be using or which ones you want to negate necessarily.
Yes, absolutely. And on top of that, Tony, one other recommendation, instead of having the user look at what search terms came up, they may want to be, proactive and start adding some broad terms too that don't make sense. So, vitamin C or something like that.
Right.
I have an account that sells, vitamins and supplements. That's not what they want to focus on. And, I saw that it was one of the top click terms, but, if you watch the news or you saw any articles on, rumors of vitamin C working, that's something you can be proactive with and add it as a negative before it's already, got carried away.
Very smart. Very smart. So I know we're a little shorter on time now, but how are you doing? How are you doing? How's your family? How's the baby? How's Danny? How's everything going?
Doing well. I think it's about probably almost 1 month exactly since the last day in office was, I think, 3/9. I'm doing well. My wife's a New York City school teacher, so she's able to work from home. Very lucky that we're both working at this time. I know it's tough for a lot of people, but overall, even though we're a half hour away from the epicenter, I'm doing good. So thanks for asking.
Sure thing, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, of course. To that, like, what's your biggest piece of advice outside of e-commerce and everything like that? Like, just telling people, like, what should they be doing right now? Like, obviously, like, I've been saying it all along this whole time, and I'm going to say it again. Stay healthy, stay safe, and remain informed. Like, and I'm
Yes.
underlining an asterisk and
Yes.
exclamation parts. I'm going, stay informed. Keep up with the news. Keep up with what the government's doing right now. Keep up with what your local and state governments are doing. I mean, it's so beyond crucial. There's so much information out there, and as you said, there's so much false or misleading information out there. So
Right.
you have to kind of
Exactly.
take everything with a grain of salt, and be sure that you're looking at everything in multiple lenses and using the optics to just remain informed about what's going on, what is going on tomorrow, the next day, everything. It all kind of blends together and winds up being the same. But
Yep.
if you're not taking that time to do it, I mean, sure, it's scary. It's sad in many ways. Although there's some bright notes about this. There's a woman, a local woman, 90 years old, here on Long Island. I have to remember her name, and I'm so sad that I forgot her name. I'm gonna find it out for you real quick though. But I just like to say congratulations to her. 90-year-old woman here on Long Island beat COVID, and her message to everybody was, essentially stay strong, and just fight the fight. You'll be okay. Um, and just remain positive. You know what I mean? I'm trying to find if I can still
Wow.
see.
90 years old.
90 years old, and
Unbelievable.
she's smiling. She's obviously, but she's smiling. She's just being honest.
That's the attitude everyone needs. I know it's hard, but
I want to do a shout out to this one. I'm sorry. I want to do this real quick. Yes. Big shout out to Anna Fortunato out
Anna.
of locally, who yeah. Oh my God, incredible. I'm
Good job,
Jericho. I think
Anna.
she said that's where she was. Absolutely incredible. Anna, this video is out to Anna for beating COVID at 90 years old. Congratulations. I'm so glad she's healthy and safe, and and that goes out to everybody out there.
Yep. For sure.
But yeah, Keith, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks,
this
Tony.
was great. I think you shared some incredible insight and some very important advice for merchants that are kind of dealing with these tough times.
Thanks,
Again, it's
Tony. Thanks for
scary.
having me too.
It's uncertain.
We'll
But
get through it.
this is the world. This is the new world
This is
order, so
it.
to speak.
This is it.
But anyway, everybody, thanks again joining me here, and Keith Hochler again, enterprise account specialist over here at Sales and Orders, longtime friend of mine, great guy, love the beard,
Ooh, thank
the
you. Thanks.
coronavirus
Yeah,
beard,
this is
as
it.
we're calling it these days. Although I'm jealous, your beard has always been so much better than mine.
Thank you.
And I
Thank you.
got the gray hairs are starting to creep in a
Yeah.
little bit. It's really, yeah, just what it is. But again, everybody have a wonderful day, afternoon, week, month, whatever it is. Stay safe, stay healthy, remain informed, and we'll be hitting it again probably tomorrow or the next day. I think we're going to be interviewing Herman soon.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, Herman. All right. All right,
All right.
Tony. Thanks for having me.
We'll talk to you later. All right, bud?
All right. Talk to you later.
All right, good.